game.
When it comes to games, zombies are here to stay. They allow designers to create moody locations, massive waves of enemies you can take out with no moral qualms, and there's plenty of subject matter to play with as well. Deadlight is the latest post-apocalyptia, except in this game, the last thing you want to do is get in a fight with a zombie.
You play as Randy, a gruff survivor who's following a radio broadcast to reach a safe zone. At the start of the game, he's forced to make a brutal decision about an infected member of the group. This sets the stage for a dark zombie romp set well into the end of days. Randy is then separated from his group with plans to meet up with them later on once he's found his family.
Along the way, he'll have to fight through a crazy man's maze in the sewer, the infected open streets above, and a derelict hospital, all while fighting off zombies and other humans. Story is told with lots of narration and stylized cutscenes. There's inspired moments too as you flash back to the day of the outbreak repeatedly throughout the campaign, each time getting a bit further and learning more about a particular memory of Randy's. I also like how when you first get a gun, the tutorial is a flashback where you don't have the pressure of having zombies around, so you can really get to grips with the controls.
Try to shoot that can over there.
That'll be easy.
Kid, I like your style.
After a while, it starts to become apparent that Randy is losing his mind a little bit, haunted by painful memories.
Lydia? No, my mind is wandering.
There are a few plot holes here and there, and it's not the strongest story, is it?
No, but they have tried to tell it in an interesting way. But when you do finish the game and you think back and look at all the story, it's not very cohesive, and you end up with confused face over the credits. Oh, and the voice acting isn't that great, is it, Hex?
I never knew I could feel so alone. Shannon. Lydia. I miss them so much.
Oh, it's pretty bad, especially that young boy that just sounds like an older man trying to do a really high-pitched voice.
Yeah.
Shit! Here they come again! Run! Run as fast as you can and don't look back!
Story aside though, this is a fun but short puzzle action adventure game with a strong art style. At first, it might remind you of the excellent Shadow Complex, with lots of depth in the background and detail. Enemies appear and come into your plane of action, and there's lots of interactions with the environment as well.
It's not quite as polished as Shadow, but there's some nice attention to detail, and the city backdrops are impressive. Strolling along in 2D with all that mayhem in the distance, and quite often Randy's in silhouette, which might remind you a little bit of Limbo.
The best part about this game is at times it reminded me of another world because of the problem solving and the timing and trial and error that you need to do to get through sections.
I can easily break through it.
It also likes to surprise you now and then.
As you progress, you'll start to realize that attempting to take on zombies will just get you killed. You're almost always better off leaping past them or luring them somewhere where they can be taken out by the environment. These zombies aren't smart. They're like lemmings in this game. Small barriers will stop them, and often you can just taunt them into a group, then leap over them to safety. I think it works, Barjo.
Yeah, me too. And you start craving that higher ground because it's the only place that's really safe, so you can take a breath and think about the next section.
There's also platforming and environmental obstacles as well. The highlights are in the chase and flee sequences. You have to rely on quick thinking and pay attention to what's in front of you, whether it be a door that you can charge through or an object that's going to trip you up.
What the hell?
They'll usually take you a few goes though, because if you miss one jump or take off too slowly, then you can get crushed or trapped. But you know, it's not frustrating. I also thought the controls were really intuitive. He is a slow-moving character though, which really adds stress to the situation.
Yeah, it is pretty stressful when you're trying to reload quickly when there's a horde of zombies just coming towards you.
Yeah.
Combat makes use of an axe, a pistol, and a shotgun to help you take down zombies and open doors and locks. Bullets are very scarce, which is good. And if there's more than one zombie, an axe just isn't gonna cut it. The axe combat is a bit glitchy, but I think that just adds to the stress a bit.
On top of that, you have to manage a stamina bar, and this along with health can be increased. Stamina isn't a huge problem, it only runs out if you run a very long way or swing too much with your axe.
A big section of the game is set in the sewers underground as you perform a series of trials, really, for a crazy man. In this section, you'll use a slingshot to activate certain triggers, and there's lots of platforming problems and puzzles down here to solve. But Hex, I felt like this whole area just slowed the pace of the game, which was rocketing along.
Yeah, it did a bit, but I personally didn't mind so much, and all those outdoor sections were so beautiful. It feels like a big, open, fleshed out world, even though you're only on a 2D plane. The puzzles were mostly very good, although overall it's not a very challenging game, is it?
No, and early on there's lots of those little jump markers indicating where you need to go, and there's no way to turn those off.
I didn't mind the jump markers so much, but I thought the voiceovers were a bit much. The puzzles are clever, but then a voiceover tells you what to do.
That water tower looks weak.
Just let me figure it out. In fairness, they're not all like that, but it happened enough to make me annoyed.
There are some rough edges to this game too. Animations jump a little here and there, especially the zombies. And there are a few bugs too, which require a checkpoint restart. Nothing game-breaking, but they're still frustrating.
I just wish the story was told a bit better. I mean, they barely explored any of the other characters, and I guess they just didn't have time because this game is barely 4 hours long.
There's a nice music score though. And I think I still enjoyed this game, even with its rough edges, just because it reminded me of all those older games that I used to love so much.
I wanted more of those zombie lemmings type puzzles where you lead zombies into a trap and that's how you solve the room and escape. I guess that's what's most interesting about Deadlight, is it's a zombie avoider rather than an action shooter, and I wish they'd taken that a little bit further. But it's worth a play, I think. I'm giving it 7.5.
Yeah, it just got going and then finished it. I want a bigger, fleshed out version of this game. I'm giving it 6.5.